Daf Ayin Daled Amud Aleph, last line. Regarding the manure case in Mishnah, we said you're able to do a contract for the entire year. Tanakama said it's mutar, Rabbi Yosef said it's asur, and then at the end it said Hachamim said it's mutar. So the Gemara said Hachamim and Tanakama. The Hachamim is the same as Tanakama. They both say it's mutar. Even if you don't have it. Gemara said the Marava, there's a difference. The difference between Hachamim and Tanakama will be in the time of the winter. During the winter, the manure is not so accessible because it breaks easily. So according to Tanakama, always mutar. Hachamim at the end say only during the summer, not during the winter, because winter is harder to get. Next problem, Mishnah. You have to always go with the high price. So therefore, there's a guy who gave money to a seller for the future delivery of jewelry. For his father-in-law's dowry. All right, his father-in-law asked him to bring his shaliach and bring the seller for the bride's jewelry. That always works out when you make a deal with the father-in-law. The Safzalim at the end, the dowry became cheaper before he delivered it. After they commanded the fight, they came before the Papa. They said, if you said that it should be for the best price ever, Shekil Kahash, hit the current lower price. But if you didn't make that condition, Shekil Kimei to take the original price, the higher price. They didn't do the condition from beforehand. That's only considered money. There's no condition made, means no transaction happened. Money is not a good enough transaction. You need a kinyan. There's no kinyan happening, so therefore he should be able to retract. He said, okay, I didn't say an actual transaction happened. I meant regarding the mishepara, the curse of retracting on a verbal transaction. Therefore, if you made the condition for the higher price and he doesn't want to deliver anymore, he's considered retracting. Therefore, the seller is going against the mishepara curse. If there's no condition, the buyer can retract. And the buyer has to take upon himself the mishepara curse. Ravina asks the question: how do you know that the Tanakama of our Mishnah is according to Chachamim who argues against Rabbi Shimon? The Amri Ma'ot Lokanu, who say that the money is not a good enough kinyan. And it still only works if he made a condition. Shakil Kedahasha that he could take at the current cheaper price. But if Ilo Pasab, if did not make the condition, Shakil Nikrai say the higher price, right? Why say all that? To say it has to be according to that opinion, maybe simple. It's Tanakama was like Rabbi Shimon. The Amar Ma'at Kanot. Money is a good transaction. You don't need a kinyan. And if when you made the initial condition, Shakil Kiyashle, he takes the current cheap price. Ilo Pasak Shaglu Mikaran, if there's no condition, he can take it, he has to take it at the higher price. Mishum Dekana does it because the money was a good acquisition. Much simpler. Instead of bending over backwards and making a different explanation. Where it says according to Chachamim, Ben Pasak Pasak, and Chachamim would say that even the money is not good enough, and therefore whether or not you made the condition, Shakil Giyasha takes a cheaper price. The initial person always wants to have a cheaper price when he makes a sale. Now, why does he have to, now Rabbi has to explain himself? Rabbi Shimon says that money is a good kinyan when the goods are the same price. But he doesn't say the advance payment is a good kinyan when the price changes. He would agree that it's not a good deal anymore. That's not the case. According to Rabbi Shimon, there'll be never case of Mishe Pera. Because if the guy is able to back out because the prices went down, right? Usually, if Misha Pera means it could go against the buyer, against the seller, whoever they're attracting. So if the payment has already happened and it's fully binding, the buyer can't be liable if the prices go down. So what would be the case of Misha Pera according to the buyer? Maybe you might say, okay, maybe there is no Misha Pera by buyer. Is all the time in this situation regarding Misha Pera, even according to Bishimon Yani. Hachamim said that if you retract from a deal, you're still chayav. So we're seeing that Bishimon agreed that there's always Misha Pera, buyer or seller. But according to your explanation, there is no Misha Pera by buyer. What does it mean mikomakom any event? Lav sounds like the loshna lokeach loshna macher sounds like whether or not there's a buyer or a seller. Mikabel mishapara sounds like there is a mishapara by buyer. Ela, therefore, Papa has to explain. Ki kamar Rabbi Shimon bechatara is referring to one price. There's no mishapara. that you can retract with that money is a good acquisition. But two prices he didn't say that, and therefore the buyer would be able to be subject to Misha Para. But typically there would be a different explanation. The father-in-law made him a shliach, and therefore he is not acting on behalf of the father-in-law. The father-in-law is not the one making the retraction or the problems. The son-in-law is the shliach is doing it, and therefore the son-in-law is not doing anything wrong. The father-in-law wants to back out. We're talking about a case where the son-in-law was the merchant who buys and sells, and therefore he's the one who's trying to make the deal, not his father-in-law. No Mishnah. A person can lend his sharecropper some wheat, to be paid back with wheat. Lezera, person can give seed, right? Not when it's actual wheat. You could give seeds for planting, but not actual wheat. Because Rabban Gamliel used to be very machmir, and that's Malveat Arisav, Hitin Behitin used to lend his sharecroppers wheat for wheat, the zera, only for seed usage. Biyoker vehuzlu. And still, if it was expensive and it dropped afterward, the price dropped, or the price was down and went up, no Tamehen Kishar as well, he always took the cheaper shot. He always took the loss. Not necessarily that way. He's being machmir. He wants to be machmir, not to have any problems. A person can lend his sharecropper's wheat بحيتين for wheat, only by seed. It only applies when he hasn't started working on it. Once he starts working on it, asur, you can no longer do it because my shantana did not make a difference. Ben that didn't make a difference whether or not he started working. My shantana berad, the come of the how come this bright did make a difference. Ben whether or not he started working. Rabbi explains that if Edi asked Berani Halar, if Edi explained it to me, but after the Tadidan in our Mishnah, in the place of our Mishnah, Arisa Yahid Bizra, the sharecropper usually supplied the seed. Ben Yerad or Ben Lira. Therefore, whether or not he started working on it, Kamad Yahid Bizra, as long as he didn't start putting his own seeds, Matzi Misalek, the owner, can fire him because there's no agreement yet. The guy didn't do anything yet. Vikinahi, therefore, when he starts working, he's basically saying, I'm doing less. I am working with your seed, and therefore I'm taking less money. But the Braita that we quoted just now, the owner usually supplies the seeds. Therefore, if he didn't start working yet, then he can still be fired. Once he starts working with the owner's seed, he's basically being paid less because he's not he's being paid less for not for doing the same work. Therefore, if he started working, therefore he already started working, and the guy can no longer fired him, and therefore there's a loan. It's asur because he's going on a loan that the guy is giving him his seed, and he's working for me, and I'm taking the profits or some of the profits. A person could tell his friend, lend me a pound of wheat, and I'll pay you, and give me a price for it. If the wheat became cheaper, don't give him the money, give him the wheat. But if he became more expensive, you have to give him the money. The Gemara says about katzatz, but what's the difference? He gave a fixed price of wheat, so then why do you have to accept the cheaper amount of money, cheaper pound? In low katzatz, if he did not make a price, if it became cheaper, take back the pound of wheat. If it became more expensive, he can take the price of the original agreement. Okay. Right, this is mentioned by Mishnah so many times, but now we're actually doing it. Person cannot tell his friend, lend me some wheat, I'll go to and I'll give you back a cord after I harvest mine. Lend me wheat until my son unlocks the storage or until I find the key. I mean, I have it, but I don't have access. Hillel says, still asur. Hillel also said, another thing is machmir. A woman cannot lend a friend a loaf of bread to pay back another loaf. They said as long as until she evaluates it and gets paid back exactly. Because maybe the wheat became more expensive. Therefore, the bread that she gave is more expensive. If she's receiving is more expensive than what she gave, that's considered a beat. Someone has a sa'ah produce, he can borrow one sa'ah. Sa'ah time, the best of time, if he has two, he can borrow two. If he has one sa'ah, he can borrow as much as he wants. He has no problem with doing 1 to 2. Right? So therefore, meaning until now we always said, oh, you can only borrow if you have in the possession at the time. And now we're trying to see whether or not there's a minimum or maximum. Rabbi Yitzchak says, as long as you have some, unlimited. We have a proof. If someone does not have a drop of wine, he can't borrow wine. Tipat shemen yesh enlo. If someone does not have a drop of oil, he can't borrow oil. Therefore, if he had even minimum drops, he can borrow as much as he wants. Okay, but Hillel says asur even if he had the goods. Amar Nachman, Amar Shmuel halacha k'redivei Hillel. Halachas according to Hillel were machmir in the case even if the guy has the goods in his possession, right? With the case with the key or the son. But halacha is not like that, and really halacha is like Bet Shammai that we are mutar ibn Asim.